today I want to talk about brands and how we all use our brands to stand out from the crowd. So how many businesses do you know that offer a similar product or service to yourselves? We know of a number of designers and printers locally that offer similar products, and I'm sure this is the case for the majority of us here that own our own businesses. However, we all have ways in which we differ and are better than our competitors. The question is, though, how do your potential customers know this? It's simple, it's through your brand and the way that you market your brand to stand out. So, what are you currently doing to stand out? Is everyone doing things that they can genuinely think of in their head that make them stand out from their competitors? If not, we've got a few tips which should help us with this. So the first one is to ensure brand consistency, so that all the hard work that you do is affiliated with your company. Next, it's never really worth using cheap material. We've got some handouts here so that you'll be able to see the difference. Yeah, the difference in the quality. So the only time that you really want to be using a lower or cheaper quality paper is if you're doing a huge mass mailing, where you're just fishing for getting into as many places as possible. If you've got a database of your own customers, then you want to be showing them the quality that you have. So hopefully you'll all agree that there's one that you keep over the other, and one that you kind of think that shows your business better than the other. No, so the lighter one is 90 gram, and the heavier one is 350 gram. So that's the difference there, but dependent on the quantity that you're ordering, there won't actually be that big a difference in price. Whoever you use to do your printing, it's always worth asking what's the difference in price between the weight that you're currently getting and a heavier weight paper, because you'll be surprised that it's actually a lot less than you'll probably imagine it to be.
That's certainly the case when I've got my cards on.
Was that off it?
It's always possible.
So the next point, regularly adapt the presentation of your brand. So it's key not to break rule one with this, but there are lots of different ways to kind of display your brand in a fresh way without actually changing what you're showing to your customer. So here we've just got a bit of a movement through the ages of the business cards.
And it isn't that much of an age, it's only a
Weeks!
Yeah.
Sorry. So you can carry on talking, George, I'll just carry on doing the legwork.
Is it usual in that business?
No.
That's the way it normally is.
And then the final little tip is if you are planning on changing your logo or modernising your logo, it's best to do this gradually, because that is the key thing that obviously everybody picks up on in terms of your brand. So Coca-Cola is our example for this. So this is from 1887 to the present logo being used in 2016, and that's the change. But there are definite changes there, and it's all been done gradually. Finally finished. Struggling? Quite like that. Bulletproof business card.
If you notice on the actual logo, the actual brand has not changed, but the way in which the brand has been presented has actually changed. And here, the brand has not changed, but the way it's presented in the ink splash.
So finally, if you're not sure that you have a visual brand at the minute, or if you're wanting to enhance your visual brand, we'll just give you a quick 5-step process of how we'd help you do this. So the first thing that we do is we listen to your story of how the business was created and any interesting stories that you've got along with it. The majority of people engage better with a story than they do with just facts and figures. So once we've done that, we'll try to understand your qualities, values, and the experiences you've had, so that we can actually turn this into a visual brand for you. And this would be by pinpointing specific areas and creating targeted designs to produce an actual theme which we can follow through. And this, we'd make sure that you can do this across web, social media, and print. So it can be used anywhere that you're kind of viewing it and wanting to see it. And then finally, we'd look at what we created as a whole and make sure that actually, as a picture, does it resemble you and your business? And hopefully, because of those first 4 steps, it will do. So this is just being all about brand, not about printing, which you mentioned earlier. And I think we've got some prototypes of
our Christmas card this year. So I'll hand these round because, in actual fact, there's a blind deboss on the front of these cards that you can only see close up that has been done on an 1888 hand press, Albion. So essentially, 1 year after Coca-Cola produced their first logo.
What it is, it's just
Oh, yeah, this is not possible. It's telling you Christmas present. Why, when you just started?
Any questions about it?
Yes, so it's a question now.
These new cards, don't you find them a bit thick?
Yes.
I mean, I know they stand out, but they don't actually fit into a card holder.
Yeah. Well,
when you say they don't fit into a card
Because they're a
holder,
bit thick.
well, they fit into the little holders that we give away when we sell cards. We give little boxes now and then. Of course, the little boxes don't hold many.
so I completely agree with you. They don't hold many, so you'll probably get only about 5 cards in here. More than happy to supply you with 4, 5 boxes, and then if you've got that, then you can obviously take these with you. So we were recently doing some of these for a client, and that was his first thought as well, which has just meant that we've reduced the thickness of the core inside. So we've reduced the thickness of the outside and of the core in the middle. So you still get that coloured effect, but on a slightly thinner card. The other thing that we're doing with them is actually cutting out the top layer so that you can see through into the coloured core beneath it. So it's yet another level on top of that. But yeah, I would agree that they are very thick, but it depends on how many you give out at a networking event.
And the point is that that's your comment. Your comment is the thick card, and it's giving a presenting yourself with something that's memorable, and you keep on adapting that memorable. So people are not sort of just see the same thing again. They sort of see something a bit different, and it's, oh right. And so your thing that you're providing is actually keeping on prompting them to remember you, and that's what you need to do, is get them to remember you. Even if they, as a client, are not likely to use your services, the fact is that when they're talking to somebody else, they sort of, the subject crops up of your particular business, then you will get the referral.
And
that's really what we're all about.
The much bigger point is, if you've ever been to these networking events where you put your card in the bowl and you've got a chance of winning champagne, those cards, they do it.
The bifold ones are better. You get 2 chances.
Yeah. The A3 leaflet.
You've given us these.
Yep.
What weight would you recommend for using for letters?
The letters, 120 gram, it's
120
nice.
grams.
Feels good, still goes through your printer. If you go above 120 gram, you start getting possibly problems with your own printers, but 120 gram with your own printer, it feels a huge amount different, better than the competition. that's really what he's trying to do. He's saying we're better than the competition by little things that don't cost you much, but actually make you stand out.
What is the price difference though?
If I say to you that material cost, right, is proportional, so 100 gram to 120 gram is 20% more, but if I tell you that the smallest cost probably in your letterheads will be the material cost. So the smallest element of cost will be material cost, and you'll have 20% additional on that. So generally, on sort of 500 letterheads, you're perhaps adding £3 or £4.
And that's why it's always just worth asking. So
Yes, I mean,
it's
you get,
always
On the other side is that you've got to check if you get nice letterheads that you use them properly.
Yep.
Because I went to somebody years ago and they produced food for the pubs, so they produced all of the, they do 500 chili con carnes. They were all done, all chilled, all wrapped, went straight in a chilled vessel and then went to a chilled warehouse. And from the chilled warehouse, that's where they went to the pubs. And the chilled warehouse sent the invoices out, and they were putting the invoices on nice letterheads for them to keep in a folder for 7 years to then be thrown away. And I just went, well, why are you doing that? Because these invoices never go to a customer, they're your internal ones. So it's a question of that if you can only use that to use the cheap paper to just print those sort of things out to keep, and then you can afford the nice letterhead to go out to your customers with.
yeah.
Sheila's
Save them a
absolutely right.
fortune,
Well,
and I just went, oh, I never thought about that.
You brought up a key point in terms of thinking about what you're actually going to be using it for. Because if you're handing out a map or something like that, you're not going to hand out a kind of 350 gram map that you struggle to fold and that they can't really get in their pocket. So you do have to think about where you'll be giving out these flyers. If you're going to be doing it at an event that's outside where people will want to be folding them up, then you need to think about that and think about, or ask your printer again, what weight would be best for the heaviest and thickest possible that your customer will still be able to fold up and put into their pocket.
Can I just ask, I know you are a design and print company, but how much do you actually design? Say for example you want a new Christmas card for our firm, because we've had it for years. Would you actually take us through the design of it, go through the computer and
Yeah,
go
yeah,
through all that
yeah.
stuff? Because I thought you were just printing Facebook.
Yeah.
This is why the younger generation are actually putting a facelift on the business. Just getting the word
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Yes.
Have you any idea of cost of a Christmas card? So if someone said, right, can you design me a Christmas card and I want 100 of them, is it really varying costs, or do you have like
It's a completely sort of varying cost. What we probably sort of do is say, what would you really like? Then give you a costing on that, and if that is over your budget, then look at ways in which we can actually trim it to actually come within your budget, but also get exactly what you or as near a compromise to what you'd like as possible. So we'll always work with you to actually get the price and the product what you want at once. And we'll very often sort of have times where we think that the thing is more productive for us to get you what you want, actually subsidise it a little bit on the basis that if it produces the right result for you, then the likelihood is that you'll want to do it again and do other things. So we'll always sort of look at trying to be flexible on costs to accommodate.
So in terms of design, we work on an hourly basis, but what we have to do is set a design limit so that you know a maximum amount that you're going to pay. If it turns out that you've actually, say we've set design limit to 2 hours, you spend it, we only take an hour, then we'll only charge you for an hour. People love it if you've been quoted £80 or whatever it is, and then you only get charged half of that because that's all it's taken. Then suddenly your customers really do appreciate what you're doing, and therefore for us it's always worth actually charging the amount of time that we've taken until it hits that maximum level.
But if it goes over that maximum level, you don't get charged anymore.
So you won't be charged. But we do then look at it. If we keep going over that maximum level, then obviously we'll have to set a higher maximum level next time, because we know that we tend to take a bit more time with whoever we're working with. Just like we'll reduce the maximum level if we find we're always under it. So that's how we tend to work with design, because it can be quite a scary area where people have no idea how much this is going to cost me. So you can get a maximum build cost.
Any other questions?
I'll just return you to one thing that Sheila said, which was absolutely right. In terms of things like invoices or statements or bits of accountancy bits, we will always recommend to people that they use them in black and white on the cheapest material. Or if they want to use carboners, then you use carboners. But go into black and white, because once you've done the job for the customer, you stand and fall by what you've done, not by what the invoice looks like, but what you've done. And so, you know, as Sheila says, they're just literally there for the accounts record.
Do you do calendars and diaries and that sort of thing?
We do. Generally, sort of, that we give you also options where there are some commercially produced calendars where there's stock that you can then have them modified so that your details are on them, and that's a cheaper way of getting a sort of a pretty
Small
calendar.
quantity.
Small quantities.
On larger quantities, then
Then
it's much easier. You can just do whatever you want. Yeah.
Is it purely commercial, or do you do, say for example, I want to cut out something in an unusual shape?
Yeah.
Is it just the cards that you do, or can you do something a bit more fun, like a child's card or whatever?
Yes. You
Do
mean?
you have a cutting facility to do an unusual shape as well?
The problem against quantities.
In truth, if you have an unusual shape that needs cutting out, then if you only have a few, then it's either a matter of sending away to have a laser cut out shapes, which you can do, but you do have to pay a bit more for the individual ones rather than for when the quantity starts getting higher.
Yeah.
But
So generally.
no, we'll always sort you out with prices.
Yeah, but generally it is on kind of larger orders. As everything is, it's difficult to have it personalised in a small quantity. So all the cards in shops that you're buying at low prices are because they're printed on a huge kind of range.
Well, going onto the personalised side, there's no reason why, if you give us a database of people's names, that we can't sort of print their names in the card as we're printing it. So they're totally personalised. We do quite a bit of this for charities, for Practical Action, for Assist, for CBSA.
What would you define as a workable number? So you spoke about larger orders or smaller orders or personalised orders. What would you say is a workable order for you?
I think the difficulty with a workable order is everyone's probably got a unit price in their own head of what might be reasonable. So the thing that we tend to do is, say someone was looking for 50, we give them a price for 50 and a price for 100. And that's when they kind of see the differences in cost in terms of how much it goes up by. So there's, I mean, it's completely dependent on what you think is the correct unit price for a card. I mean, what would you, if it was one card that was cut out, what would you think would be a fair amount to pay? That's the question.
Is that a rhetorical question?
Well, if you had an idea straight away in your head, then yeah.
If I was
But
buying them mass, I would expect it to be pence really.
yeah, but if you were
like
buying one,
personalised cards,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking of high tech intricate cutting,
yeah,
and maybe with a gap so you can see straight through
Sure,
what's
yeah.
inside. I expect them to obviously be more.
yeah,
But if I was buying more, it would be cheaper.
yeah. I think it's just the amount more is the shock in general.
And obviously,
is
the
amount.
difference
Sometimes-
between 50 and 100 is
And
once
that's-
it's designed and set, you
Yeah. And that's why we with calendars and things like that, we just take a normal calendar that you can buy off the shelf, and then personalise around that. So that you've got away from that, having to do all of that work for one calendar. All you're actually having to do is kind of covers for it, and therefore you're actually managing to get a cheaper personalised item. But if you were to do the whole process again, then it's going to be expensive. So if each page needs to be personalised to whatever it is, then.
And now that we've got this 1888 press rebuilt, then we are looking at potential for being able to do some cutting out on it that can be done at a very inexpensive way because of the fact that it's a hand press. So that is, watch this space, we'll actually sort of come back to that at some stage later. We've
Okay.
overrun. Yes?
Okay, is there any more? One more?
Sorry.
One more.
Can you print on other things apart from paper? So can you make signs or do, I don't know, mouse pads?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for your presentation and our insight into